You never actually get away with anything. Now, what do I mean by this simple fact? Well, it's based off of the law of conservation, or the conservation of energy concept, which is energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed because we live in a unified, one whole, conscious, infinite universe that manifests all logical possibilities. And so each finite dimension or aspect or configuration mode of this infinite existence, this infinite universe, is not creating anything. It's just reformulating what's already there, and what's already coming into creation in any way, shape, or form has already been created. It's not created by you. It's just channeled from a higher realm, a more fundamental realm of existence. So with that simple fact is that the energy is going to have to go somewhere. So we're going to really focus mostly on negative energy. But I mean, because that's kind of when we think of, oh, we got away with something, or, what goes around comes around, karma, things like that. We think, oh, well, they got away with it, blah, blah, blah. They died and they're gone now, right? They don't exist. But again, energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. So that energy is going to go somewhere. The incarnation, that individualized piece of consciousness, aspect of consciousness, configuration of consciousness, is going to still manifest again and again and again until it's balanced out and equilibrialized. It's not even a fucking word, but you get the point. So that energy has to go somewhere. So the same concept goes to negative energy or bad karma or negative karma. This also means that shortcuts never work. And this is coming from somebody who, again, we are egoic creatures. We still like to think that we can kind of cheat the system, that we can cheat God, the universe, creation. We can use a shortcut and get what we want without actually having to do the real work we know we're supposed to do deep down, because we think, oh, well, if I just cut this corner, whatever, or, if I just lie, cheat, steal, blah, blah, that the chickens won't come home to roost. And it can take time. It can take multiple lifetimes for that energy to come back and to re-manifest in your life, but it's going to come back eventually. You're going to have to face that energy in some shape or form. And that delay will usually mean that you're not going to remember what the true source of it is. So it actually makes it even worse that, if you lie, cheat, steal, do something negative, and then it takes a couple lifetimes down the road, and then something negative happens to you, you're like, well, why did that happen? I don't understand. Well, it's like, well, because that energy is coming back to balance itself, rebalance itself, to reach homeostasis. It needs to be processed. It needs to be integrated. And so all the negative things that manifest in our life are actually just downstream, later delayed effects of negative actions or patterns that were, let's say, perpetuated or began sometime in the past for our individualized piece of consciousness. Now, some people call this the soul. You can call this the spiritual identity, just a more fundamental memory concept or pattern. Each individual entity could just be thought of as a pattern. So, point being is that, yeah, so like say, oh, we think we can lie, cheat, steal in this incarnation, and we're not going to have to face the consequences. Well, again, in this incarnation, or if you're thinking it from a one individualized incarnation standpoint, from your ego's perspective, then correct. You can delay negative outcomes down into another life. Or, if you die, then yeah, in this incarnation, you're not going to have to pay off that karmic debt or that, let's say, negative energy or that emotional pattern. But it will always have to be rebalanced. And another way that this can be explained is that, there's also the kind of concept of negative consequences that manifest in the way we think they can. So to give you a really simple example, somebody or two individuals who eat junk food. So one individual eats junk food and it's classic, it's straightforward, they gain weight, right? They eat a bunch of sweets and junk food, whatever, and so that manifests through excess weight or a physiology that it may not be most desirable for the people or for that individual in person. And then that same person will look at somebody else and say that person can eat junk food all the time. They can eat junk food all the time, every day. They have a really fast metabolism. They naturally just burn fat or burn calories. And so they remain skinny or they remain attractive. There are some models out there, there's some very attractive people out there who can really eat whatever they want. And those people who are more at the effect, like myself, the people who are more affected by a negative or bad diet we'll look at those people and say, well, that's unfair. They get away with it. They can eat whatever they want and they don't really face consequences, because in their minds, they think, oh, the consequence is gaining weight. The consequences is something vain, like physical appearance or attractiveness. But again, you never get away with anything. So that energy has to go somewhere. If you're consuming negatively polarized foods or self-destructive foods like artificial sweeteners or toxic chemicals or excess sugar, fat, whatever it may be, even like excess meat or things like that vibrate at a lower frequency, that energy is going to have to go somewhere. So it might not manifest as excess weight. It might manifest as mental illness or mental distortions, okay? Or negative emotional states, okay? It might manifest as lethargy or attracting negative situations in one life, or negative relationships or whatever it may be. There's an infinite way of logical possibilities that can manifest. So there's many different ways that a poor diet can manifest negatively in one's life. It doesn't have to be physiological. We just assume that if you're not gaining weight or if you still look good despite eating junk food, you got away with it. No, because also internally too, you can get diabetes, you get cancer, Alzheimer's, you can have physiological problems, you can have knee problems down the road. It might be something that manifests later on, right? So somebody who, if you even think about it simplistically, right, you have somebody who gains a lot of weight or has high cholesterol or whatever, diabetes based off of eating excess sugar. So they stop eating sugar, they stop eating junk food, they eat healthy, and they actually go on to live a very healthy lifestyle and being able to walk around for most of their life. And you have, say, somebody who's skinny, whatever, and they're eating junk food all their life because they don't face the negative consequences. They get to an older age, and then they have, Alzheimer's, like type 3 diabetes is what some people call it, or they've developed cancer, or their body deteriorates just faster, or they have a heart attack, things like that. You never really know how it manifests. There's so many different ways that the chickens can come home to roost. And as human beings, as finite, flawed, distorted, limited human beings, we only have so much capacity to really not only barely, we can't really control anything, but let alone understand or really predict how the consequences are going to manifest, how the chickens are going to come home to roost. But they're always going to come home to roost, and you can't do a shortcut. And another example would be, say you're eating junk food and then you think, oh, well, the only negative manifestations of a bad diet is poor weight or cholesterol. Well, say you take medication to balance out your cholesterol or lower your cholesterol, and you also take like Ozempic or something, or there's another G1Ps or something like that, like these new drugs coming out that suppress the appetite or to make you eat less or to fix your metabolism, but you're still eating poorly. Well, again, that you're just suppressing natural signals, or you're suppressing the energy that's going to go somewhere, and that's going to manifest as other things. This is what we call side effects. Another way to think about this whole concept of you never get away with anything is that if you're not dealing with the true source of your mental illnesses or mental ailments or physiological problems, right? Because these are all signals. These are your body, your spirit, your soul, your higher self sending you signals that something needs to change, something needs to be transformed. If your reaction to that is just to take a pill or pop a pill or do a quick fix, do a shortcut, right? Well, then what happens is side effects. And those side effects can vary depending on the person. Because again, the side effects are going to manifest by attacking or triggering the weak links within your physiological being, or your psychological, energetic, or physiological bodies. Some call it the causal, subtle, and gross bodies. So hopefully you kind of understand this concept of that energy cannot be created or destroyed, and so you cannot do a shortcut. Again, you cannot just take Ozempic and things go away. You can't just, take a pill, pop a pill, and things and suppress one symptoms, because then you're gonna have side effects. Like really honestly, as I've been talking, I kind of am channeling this information to really put it in just a simple terms. Drug side effects, pharmaceutical side effects is a perfect example of you do not get away with anything. You will take this drug, you will take this substance, you will take the shortcut, the easy way out to deal with a symptom, headaches, depression, high cholesterol, whatever it may be. and there's going to be those side effects, that is the energy manifesting in another way, because it has to be managed, it has to be dealt with, it has to be faced, it has to be integrated. And so you're just suppressing one signal to then have like 3 pop up somewhere else or manifest somewhere else. And you can't really ever get away from facing your shit, to put that super simply. So face your stuff. Understand the true source, the true cause of what has been ailing you in whatever shape, form it manifests in your life. And understand that there's a certain lesson, there's a certain, information, even sometimes gift, that these ailments or these negative manifestations in your life are meant to teach you in some way, shape, or form. Okay? It's not always the easiest thing to face. It's not always the easiest thing to integrate. It's not always the easiest thing to figure out exactly where this shit is coming from, but that is why you do the inner work. This is why you do introspective practices. This is why you meditate. This is why you observe yourself and learn about yourself in real time, day to day, and show up every single day consistently to understand what's going on within yourself and why the things that are manifesting in your life that are negative, that are destructive or painful or leading to suffering or perpetuating suffering, this is why you do the work. And if you want help doing that inner work, to understand why these negative patterns are manifesting in your life and get into the root cause of these negative patterns that are happening in your life, I have a transformation guide you can get down below in the description in amirthealchemist.com, where it gives you a step-by-step guide, a step-by-step process to understand the root cause of your negative behaviors, negative patterns, addictions, and integrating this information, healing the parts of yourself that are fueling these addictions and negative behaviors, so then you can move forward without the negative side effects, not cutting corners, not falling victim to shortcuts, and not kicking the can down the road, because the debt always gets bigger when you kick the can down the road. Thank you for your time.